Okay, so next we have Dr. Jeremiah Mitzelfelt. He's in technology transfer, and just to remind you, we will have all our speakers answering your questions during our panel, and just after one more speaker, after Jeremiah, and then another speaker. Okay.
All right, so thank you everyone for sticking around towards the end of the talk. I know usually the audience thins out as we go through, so thanks. Yeah, my talk's about how to get a job in tech transfer without a postdoc. I have a PhD and did a postdoc, but that's largely due to lack of planning, as Dr. Clifford talked to. The thing I want to suggest, though, is that for tech transfer, you don't even necessarily need either of those, a PhD or a postdoc. Definitely don't need the postdoc, but the PhD can be helpful, as I'll sort of explain as we go through. So what is tech transfer? I run into this a lot. People don't know we exist on campus, don't even know what we do. In a very general sense, tech transfer is the movement of technology from one stakeholder to another. So this can be for development processes. If you think about Boeing's new 787, parts of that plane are built all over the world and by different companies, and then they end up in Seattle to be put together. So that's sort of a development technology transfer. More related to what we do in the university, it's for commercialization. So we have research discoveries in the university that are just going to exist solely as papers or sit on someone's bench top, not really helping the public. Our job is to help move it to a company that will then commercialize it to get some benefit to society. So how does this work? You have sort of science, you have business, you have law, and in the middle sits technology transfer. So in a sort of direct sense, let's see, never mind. So from a university standpoint, we have a science researchers have a discovery, think it can be a product or think it's an invention. It comes to the tech transfer office. The first thing we do is look at it from a legal sense. Is it eligible for IP protection, intellectual property protection? Can we get intellectual property protection on it? And then we also look at it from a business sense. Is there actually a product here? Is there a need for this product? If we go through the sometimes high cost of getting intellectual property protection, will someone pay us for this product so that we can get that money back? And so that's sort of the first step of the process. If we decide to move forward with it, then we do, much better. Okay. So we do send it out to a law firm to get, say, a patent application. Then your job is to translate the science to legal talk for the patent attorneys so that they can write it into a patent application. And as in 90% of the time, you get a rejection from the patent office. So then you have to take that legal reason back to the scientist, explain it to them, have them explain in science terms why the patent office is wrong, translate that back into legal, and go back. All along, you're also translating this science into business, again, the marketing, the need, so that hopefully you can find a company that will pay you for this. If that goes well and you're successful, you're now transferring that business to law to write up contracts and legal agreements. And so, yeah, you're a professional translator. That's really what you are. You translate 3 different fields into one, or to each other. And so what skills are most important? Minus obviously experience. The first one is expertise in one of the 3 sides. So this is what I mean. You don't have to necessarily have a PhD to be in tech transfer, but it helps if you're not going to have a JD or an MBA to sort of be really strong on the legal or the business side. But I do know there are plenty of people that have master's degrees in science as their top degree. And so it can be done. I think it's getting harder and harder, unfortunately, as the numbers get worse and worse for tenure track. People move into, non-traditional careers, it gets more competitive. The second one, communication, which is, I think, in every talk today. But this isn't just the ability to speak and write well. Like I said, you're a professional translator, so you need to be able to take complex science ideas and explain that to someone who has a legal mind or someone who has a business mind, and really facilitate that movement of knowledge back and forth. You also have to be very good at interpersonal relationships. You work with your faculty on campus, you work with your business contacts, you work with your patent lawyers. You have to develop those relationships, and then you also are a salesperson when you're marketing. You have to be comfortable in picking up the phone and calling someone that you've never met before in your life and say, hey, you should give me money for this thing. And if you're not comfortable doing that, then this could be a difficult field for you because it's one of the critical aspects of what we do. Third, a willingness to be a jack of all trades. I think if I had one of Dr. Urso's pie charts for strengths, every piece would be the same size because you're spread all across the board in what you do and how you manage things. You know, you can be really strong or want to really focus on the science, but you're going to have to work with patent lawyers. You're going to have to respond to office actions from the patent office. You're going to have to, you know, draw up contracts and things like that. So you've got to be willing to do a little bit of everything. Personally, I've found in my postdoc that I was actually more of a generalist instead of a specialist, so tech transfer was like a homecoming for me. Fourth, tech transfer is a very small field. The professional society is the Association of University of Technology Managers, or AUTM. It has 3,000 members. That's how small of a field this is. It's also a young field. It's only been around about 35 years. So networking is very important. I have the website up there for AUTM. It's autumn.net, not .com. It's a fantastic resource for anyone who's interested more in technology transfer. They have a lot of free webinars on basic of tech transfer. Their career board is probably, or jobs posting board is probably the best in the industry. And again, you know, tech transfer offices are showing up at more and more universities, so you're getting people that are isolated in smaller rural universities, and suddenly you get a new faculty member that works in a completely new field, and you have no idea how to draw up a contract for this field or what are, you know, reasonable numbers for a license agreement. Having that networking skill is nice because you can just pick up a phone and call somebody at another university and say, you guys do these licenses every day, you know, what's a good ballpark place to start? And unfortunately, to say, prior experience is becoming more and more important in the field. When I got my position, which I started in the field in 2014, so this is new to me, I just stepped out of science. My boss likes to tell me all the time when I give these talks to tell people, I was one of 4 finalists. Everyone had a PhD, everyone had prior experience. It's unfortunate in life sciences somewhat that that's where it's going, but it's the reality. So no, you don't need a postdoc, but you probably need to do something else, but that's okay. You just need to be aware of it and be willing to do it. So I did an internship. I was fortunate to be at a university that their tech transfer office had an internship program. But again, you can do other things. You can, you know, just even looking at AUTM's webinars will give you some of the vocabulary that's necessary for an interview. NIH actually has a phenomenal fellowship program in their tech transfer offices. It's almost like a tech transfer postdoc where it's a paid position and they will train you. NCI has the biggest one because it's by agency, so you may want to look into that. But you know, anything you can do, you know, working with a startup or just interacting with a startup, something to show a little bit of experience in the field is important. So what is my day like? A lot of it is education. Like I said, it's a new field. A lot of people on campus don't know we exist, so spend a lot of time talking with our faculty on policies, both university and patent law, on why, since you published your paper before you came to us, we can no longer file for a patent in Europe because that's the way the laws work, and why you need to talk with us and work with us, and everything also on university policies on royalty sharing and why, you know, the university takes a cut of it. So a lot of just education, but it's good because it helps build those relationships that are so important. Evaluation, like I said, we evaluate any proposed research discovery to see if it is actually an invention or just a great science finding that will make a great paper. So we spend a lot of time evaluating, marketing, contacting companies, just trying to get the word out there that our university has great research that can help the world. So And then agreement negotiations. So obviously the main one we're interested in is licensing agreements, which is when we have a patent, a company will license the right to practice that patent, and that's how you get a product in the market. But we also do, some offices will handle material transfer agreements. So if you want to send material to a collaborator, your tech transfer office may be the one that does that agreement. Confidential disclosure agreements that you can speak with a company without giving away patentable information or violating the patent laws. And also, as collaboration becomes greater and greater in science, we have more and more research disclosures that involve people at another university, and so we have to draw up agreements between the two universities on who will handle sort of taking the lead on these cases and how any costs or revenue will be shared. So how was my transition, which like I said, was a recent one, so I understand where all of you guys are at. I did an 18-month internship in tech transfer. It was only supposed to be a year, but I was really good at getting them to keep me on until I got hired, which took a little longer than I expected, but that's largely because when I started looking, I didn't want to move, and so I was trying to stay local, and that didn't work out. Once I started applying nationwide, it took about 6 months. In that process, I sent in probably 30 to 40 applications and got 8 interviews out of it. So it's 20% success rate. I had somebody tell me that you should shoot for when you're applying a 10% success rate on interviews to applications, and then a 10% success rate in job offers to interviews, which if you do the math, that's 100 applications to turn in, which is a lot. Was able to get to a second interview from half of those first interviews, and this is where I was able to lengthen out my internship. Was able to notice in those second interviews when everything went south, which was largely due to a lack of some skill that they thought was important. And so I would go back to my internship and say, this is what I'm lacking. How can we fix this? How can I do this? And they would say, we don't know. And so I would sit and figure out a way to make it work. And because I was still being able to learn things in the internship program, they were willing to keep me around. And so that's it. There's my email address. Feel free to contact me. Also, contact me on LinkedIn, maybe better just because it's stable. I think I'm the only Jeremiah Mitzelfelt in the world, so it shouldn't be too hard to find me. Just, if you do contact me, mention that you were here. Depending on my mood that day, when random people try to connect with me, I'm more or less likely to accept if I don't know who they are, but if you mention you were here, then definitely we'll connect with you. I talk with lots of people just through alternative careers groups on LinkedIn on how to get into tech transfer and things like that. I was Skyping last week with somebody in Barcelona on how to do it. Yeah, if you're interested, find your tech transfer office on campus. I'm sure you have one. Go talk to them. They may have an internship program. If they don't, they may be willing to do something with you. Just, I think a big part of why people want experience or a demonstration of experience is not just the skills, but to show interest and dedication. You're not just, I don't want to do research anymore, so I'm going to apply for anything that's not research. It's, this is what I want to do. So, oops. All right.